Let me start with the maybe most obvious trees of all, which is, as Inspector Clouseau says, Moeney. This seems to be quite an issue for many people who have been involved with Integral, that they have trouble with sustaining themselves. Since many of them are coming from the humanities as a background, it is not very easy for them on the market system to present something that other people are really in need of and would pay for. And this poses a certain difficulty because if you haven't secured your income, from a very pragmatic standpoint already, you just can't really unconditionally contribute to any kind of community. You just don't have the time. And it's also an issue that I've heard Ken mention off the mic. Has usually been asking people like, yeah, I know you're interested in Integral, but what do you do for real? I mean, come on, like, what's your job? And that's an issue. At least it seems to me it would actually maybe pay off to just ask people whether it's an issue. To me, it made the impression, but maybe it's because I'm mostly in touch with very young people who have to make those professional decisions in their lives, that it has been a proportionally really huge issue for many of us. And if people can't solve this problem alone, they simply won't be able to contribute to Integral. It's as simple as that. And we had also this interesting topic raised with Lemon Pascal. He approached it from a bit of a different perspective. What he said actually was very interesting. He said that if you don't build on those lower levels, if you don't include them, and if you don't bring together people around a specific problem that they then communally solve, they don't tend to stick together. They don't form a kind of a we space. So in a way, bringing people together to not only exchange ideas, but also to build some kind of business, something that really pays off and secures their basic needs, makes them feel secure as long as they're contributing to the community, might be a topic that's worth pondering about. Like, how could you build something like that? How could you create integral communities that are sustainable, also from a financial point of view? So would they come up with their individual business ideas and business plans? I mean, this is something I have been imagining, that every community could have a specific focus and could focus on some specific kind of business model. Like I love the idea of tiny homes, for example. Others might be more interested in offering specific therapeutic settings to engage yourself in. Others, yet again, might focus more on the wellness aspect of it and so forth. So I guess there are many approaches to this. I'll be curious to hear your ideas, but the topic of covering the lower levels and integrating them and building people together around specific problems, I think is something that whatever vision we come up with, in some way it must include this. Otherwise, you're very likely to lose 90% or even more of those who could potentially contribute. I listened to a very interesting dialogue between, I think it was Rob McNaughton, I'm not sure about his name, and David Long a few months ago. They were also discussing the topic of integral communities on the side. And what Rob said was very interesting. What he really was sorry for that they didn't do at the very start with their integral center is they had many people knocking on the doors. They really wanted to be part of the whole thing, but these people just didn't have the means, and they felt like the integral center felt like they didn't have the means to support these people. And what he wished they had done is to, if necessary, use the basement, put some mattresses there, and just give these people a place where they can sleep, and find a way to help them secure their financial needs, or at least just secure their secure their living space and their food, because these people didn't lack in conviction, and not conviction is the wrong word, they didn't lack in commitment. These people were absolutely committed to the very integral idea, and unfortunately it was money that made it impossible for them to contribute to the bigger picture. So I'm really curious to hear what you have to say on this topic. I think it's something very basic, and if we don't figure it out, if every center doesn't figure it out, I mean, money as an issue first, and how to distribute the means, how to be something that is in part community, but in part also something like a business, and also in this context has to follow business rules. It also has to follow the market. If we don't consider that, I think as Wilbur uses to say, we're dead fish in the water, or at least those who are trying to create such communities are. And most people will be excluded from the start, not because they're maybe cognitively not where they need to be, or because they're emotionally not where they need to be, but simply because they don't have the material needs met. I recently moved to Eastern Europe, and I can tell you that here the living conditions are very difficult for most people, and here it will be basically impossible for people to contribute. You would basically have no chance of these people making a really constructive contribution to the bigger picture, because everyone is so obsessed with the topic of making a living. It's such a prominent theme here that only a very few people are in this highly elitist position to allow themselves to actually to study integral and to devote time to integral.